How can URCSA better integrate social media in the church system during this lockdown period and beyond? This is a guide for churches to optimally use online media platforms with user sensitivity. This guide will be looking at the barriers to consider when planning to use social media platforms. It will also look at social media platforms that we can use and how to coordinate their use, how to integrate the use of social media into our church system, and lastly, which digital platforms can we use to hold executive meetings. This guide can be instrumental to office bearers at all levels of the church and across ministries, can be instrumental to church elders, members of the Communications and Archive Department, church ministers, as well as CURM members whom in this regard are more knowledgeable about the use of social media platforms. The voice on this guidelines is that of Matsatsabali Wagatliani, a member of the Christian Youth Ministry from Luwachumo Congregation, Berger Presbytery Limpopo, and I am a strategic communications and youth development practitioner. These guidelines support the directive from the moderator of Northern Synod, a letter in which point number 4 speaks about the minister's visibility, and it reads thus: during this period, ministers and evangelists must ensure that they are present in the spiritual lives of all congregants through the following communication channels: A. All social media platforms. B. Email communication. C. Telephonic communication. D. Electronic and print media. And these guidelines will be focusing on point number A, that speaks to social media. The strategic objectives of the General Synod, point 6, point 2, point 8, speaks about infrastructural and communication strategy of the church, which expresses that there's a need to develop and implement an efficient and affordable communication strategy of the church to enhance communication, to strengthen the church's voice in the public sphere, and to build communications capacity. Expected outcomes of this strategy is an improved internal and external sharing of information on the church's programs, and lastly, sharing information effectively and efficiently, which in essence provides the basis on the recent use of social media in the church. As a planning approach to integrate the use of social media platforms in the system of the church, I would like to propose that we do not leave anyone behind, which might currently be the case. I'd like to propose the use of a concept called digital divide, which explains to us the different elements of inequalities that might be there between congregants or people with regard to making use of social media platforms. By definition, digital divide is any inequality in the access, use, or impact of information and communication technology. And the digital divide is divided into four areas. The first one speaks to those that might have phones and those that might not have phones. So we need to be mindful of this, that others might have and others might not have. The second layer speaks to skills. You might find that there are those who know how to utilize these things and those that do not know how to utilize this information communication technologies, or the tablets or the phones or the computers. So as we're doing this as integration, we need to be mindful that not everyone has the skills. And then the third level speaks to access to internet. People might have these phones, people might have the right skills, but at the end of the day, you might find that some don't have access to internet. It might be an issue of affordability. It might be an issue of not having a network wherever they are. And so we need to be mindful of this. Maybe you can encourage people to buy specific data bundles that are cheaper. And lastly is just administrative powers. Administrative power speaks to the division between those that have a role to play in the church and those that do not. You might find that those that have a role to play in the church system don't necessarily have the skills and access to internet, but those that have the skills do not have administrative powers or roles in the church. And how do we bring these two things together so that social media can be smoothly integrated into the system of the church. We know very well that our church is a church of order that has very specific channels of communication, has specific processes, procedures, and structures. So, in this regard, when we are integrating the use of social media platforms, it is important to ensure that they are linking to the currently existing roles within the church. And here was just proposing a communication channel that after Muruti records a sermon, he mustn't just send it out, because there's a possibility that you might be missing out on a number of people, you know. So this is just a proposed communication channel that maybe after Muruti records the sermon, sends it to a relevant church council division. It could be the secretariat, the division that deals with communication and archives, or the proclamation and worship, whichever one serves the congregation well. And then that division within the church council distributes it to all the ward leaders and all the ministry leaders, so they can then trickle the message down to wards and also ministries through WhatsApp groups in both divisions. Either you use the route of ministries or the route of wards, or you use both of them. There's no problem. And you see there's another arrow that goes up, which will ensure that by doing this, Muruti can at the end of the day find out how many wards were able to receive the sermon, how many families were able to receive it, and this is a very inclusive way of ensuring that everyone is included in this process and we do not leave anyone behind. It is a way through which the unity and the harmony of the church will be sustained, because we do not want to be seen as if we are deliberately excluding other people from reaching or accessing the word of God. We have multiple social media platforms that have different strengths or strong points. Now, this model proposes that we use WhatsApp as the main communication and distribution platform. Meaning what? Number one, we're utilizing WhatsApp as the only way through which we communicate with the congregants. So WhatsApp will be utilized as a communication channel. And thereafter, secondly, WhatsApp can also be utilized to distribute the sermons and the links to some of the things that we put online. There's a difference here. Communicating, issuing out messages and all of those things is different from sending files, which might be sermons, voice notes, videos, or photos. So WhatsApp will be the primary platform that we use to communicate with congregants along the channel that we've spoken about earlier in the previous slide. And also it can be utilized to distribute content. You can distribute short videos, sound clips, and photos about the message of God. But we also have other additional distributing platforms, which could be Facebook, YouTube, and SoundCloud. If Muruti, you are going to do a live streaming on Facebook, utilize WhatsApp to inform congregants that around 12 o'clock you'll be going live on Facebook. If you've put a video on YouTube or you're going to go on YouTube, Muruti, make sure that you inform members with WhatsApp. If Muruti, you have recorded a sermon and you have put it on SoundCloud. SoundCloud it's a social platform where you record voice and then you put it there. You're not going to see video or anything, but you just access voice clips. Most of the times when people go for radio interview, the radio station, instead of sending you a 2-hour interview that you did on Kaya FM, they will take that interview, they will put it on SoundCloud, and then they will send you a link. So even SoundCloud can be utilized in this regard, where you record a sermon, the voice sermon, and you put it on SoundCloud and you distribute the link. The nice thing about Facebook, YouTube, and SoundCloud, if they are used as distribution platforms, is you can always go back to them and check how many people listened to the sermon, how many people watched the sermon, which is also a beautiful way through which we can do monitoring and control on how many people accessed our spiritual messages. But you might find in certain instances, Muruti still wants to send a voice note to congregants that might not have access to Facebook, YouTube, and SoundCloud. There's no problem. Muruti, when you're doing your sermon, put a phone down that will be recording the voice clip and also put another one in front of you that can be doing the live stream. Then those that have access to Facebook can watch you live on Facebook, there's no problem. But those that do not have can receive the voice note through WhatsApp, and then others can access the very same voice note that you might later on upload on SoundCloud. So let me just recap. WhatsApp should be utilized as the main communication platform and secondarily as a distribution platform, and Facebook should be utilized as a secondary or an additional distribution channel for video or live streaming. YouTube also used to store video footages, and also you can also do live recording. SoundCloud, you only upload your voice notes or your voice clips there so that other people can access them later on. Thank you. These are just some tips for those who will be developing content, spiritual message content. One, keep your message short and straight to the point. Two, if you are using a video, please be visible. Make sure there's enough lighting in the room, and if possible, stand so that you can also be visible. There's a difference in energies between when you are standing and when you're sitting. If possible, have your family in the room. Preach to them. It's better than preaching in an empty room to a camera or a voice recorder. And also try to have recording devices close enough for a crystal clear sound of your voice. You can, as I've already spoken, you can record with multiple devices simultaneously. There's no problem. And then try to type out and share your sermon notes along with your voice notes on WhatsApp. There's no problem, so the people can also read as they're listening to your voice. And lastly, you are also encouraged to play a nice gospel hymn in the background with another device to keep the environment or the mood very motivating. Lastly, there might have been a problem where after the lockdown we are unable to have meetings as the church, and in this regard there is an online platform called Zoom. Zoom is an app through which we can have video calls or voice calls as teams to have online meetings. It means we can, as the church council or as the committee of a ministry, have a meeting online while we are all in our respective homes, but we are all in one app. We're listening to each other as we are speaking. You can just go to Google and Google Zoom, how it works, and you can download it, and then let's see how is it that we can find our way around it to invite others to download it. But for people to participate in a Zoom meeting, they must also download it on their phones, and then we can then proceed to have meetings virtually until the lockdown ends.